Hi everyone, welcome to today's Lightbulb learning session. Today I wanted to look at the slightly emotive subject of redundancy. It's something that unfortunately in the current world is going to become more prevalent in the next few months, and it's important if you have to carry out this process that you get the stages correct. This video is going to contain 7 stages. I warn you now, it's going to be quite a long one. So, stage 1, you need to communicate to your teams the potential need for redundancies. Communication in this set of processes is everything. I'd also recommend, when you're informing your teams of potential redundancies, that you get them to try and understand a little bit of the numbers behind it or a little bit of the decision-making process that's gone with it. With this, it makes them feel more included. It's an unfortunate process, but if they understand it, they're in a better position, if they're able to help you. In fact, in one situation not so long ago, we had an employee put forward a suggestion that prevented the redundancies wholesale. So it's really important you communicate and communicate correctly with your teams. Stage 2, you need to identify your redundancy pool. Now this could be people carrying out similar work, have similar jobs or interchangeable skill sets. In small companies, it may be that the whole business is unfortunately going to shut and therefore this process isn't necessarily needed. However, in medium and larger companies with more people, where some people are being retained, it's absolutely critical. The one thing you don't want to do as an employer is lose vital skill sets, vital processes that nobody else can carry out. Stage 3, your selection criteria. So you've come through the process of informing your people, you've identified a potential pool for redundancies. Now you need to break down your selection criteria. So what can you use to select people and what can't you use to select people for the process you're going through? Well, the cans is the easy part. You can look at their standard of work or their work in general. You can look at skills and qualifications. You can look at attendance record, but you need to make sure it's accurate, and you can look at disciplinary records. However, the things you cannot select on is a much longer list, and I'm going to pop it over here and in the slide afterwards so you can have a good look and take in the information. Stage 4, you need to call a group meeting. The meeting will contain, obviously, somebody to deliver the information, the employees that have been placed within the redundancy pool, and hopefully some sort of administrative support to take notes on what actually happened amid the meeting. Within the meeting, you're going to explain why you're making the redundancies again. Again, I always go through the numbers and the practicalities within the business. You need to explain the criteria that you're basing the selection process around, not just for the redundancy pool, but for the redundancies themselves. Sometimes it's where people bring an independent like myself or one of my other colleagues in, and we can sit and explain to the group independently what is and what has been going on and why they're in the position they're in. Lastly, and most importantly, ask your group assembled if they can see any way out of the redundancy situation that you're all in. Give them time to consider. It's so important. Stage 5, we're now going to apply the selection criteria. Above all else, this process has to be consistent and fair when you're scoring each individual employee against your selected selection criteria. If possible, use 2 or 3 people who are independent of the process to do so. It might be that you want to bring someone like myself or one of my colleagues in to help you apply this so it's fair and it's consistent and there are no personalities involved. At the end of the day, you're dealing with people's lives. Stage 6. You need to consult with employees individually. Write to them, invite them to a formalised meeting. Within the meeting, you're going to look at their scoring. You're going to look at any feedback they may have. You may find they give you representations against the scoring you've provided because perhaps there's a criteria in there you didn't know about, or a situation or a piece of training or a skill you weren't aware of. You need to then evaluate that externally at the meeting afterwards against your processes and see if it affects your critical paths. At the end of the meeting, you then need to write again. Provide them with a summary of the meeting is what I always do. You need to look at the representations or disagreements they may have had to your scoring, as well as any alternative employment you might be able to offer them within the business before you make a decision on the redundancy. Stage 7, your dismissal or decision meeting. This is another sit-down meeting you're going to invite your employee to, where you're going to go end-to-end through the process and selection criteria, along with the scoring, any representations or alternative offers of employment within your company that you have offered to them. You need to be clinical in this meeting, but friendly. Finally, following this meeting, and assuming you have decided to dismiss the employee, you are going to write to them formally, providing them with a termination date, again, and all the information you have provided to them previously. This then concludes your dealings with that employee and they have been made redundant. Lastly, if you want to see the entirety of the process I've talked about, I'm going to incorporate a link below to my LinkedIn profile and an article I wrote a few weeks ago. Good luck if you're using this process, and feel free to contact me or comment below if you need assistance. Take care, stay safe, see you soon.